I'm really happy to have you with us today, Jen. You are part of our Happiness Heroes segment where we offer inspirational stories to our community. So, welcome in, Jen.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So, Jen, tell us a little bit about your story. And you also have made a huge difference in our community, and it's still growing. We're excited to hear about that. Start from the beginning.
Well, I think it started for me back. I'm a mom of 4 kids, and when my youngest was about 4, he had mastered the art of the stand and pee. And he was very proud of this. And so I just happened to be walking one day by the bathroom, and I looked and he had just finished, and I have to assume it was an attempt to streamline the process. And I watched him just put his hands directly in the bowl, wash, towel dry, and he walked out with a wink.
Wow.
And I remember in that moment just standing there stunned and thinking, I'm either going to need a lot of wine or laughter to get through this with 4 children. And so I started this blog, and I started writing these stories of crazy insanity of being a mom of 4 kids. And just along the way started working with these women. And the continuous story that I heard over and over again is, I've lost myself. I don't know who I am anymore. And in tandem, this was my story as well. And so it kind of fast forwarded into, as life does, my life got very dark. And I ended up in a year where I came home with my kids and my house had been burglarized and ransacked. And just the absolute vulnerability of that moment, and just feeling so violated.
Yes.
And in the same time, a dear friend of ours passed away, and I ended the year with I guess she was 6 at that time, coming down the steps, and she was blue and not breathing, and rushing her to the hospital. And so I found myself at the end of this year in this very, very dark space. And I remember literally sitting with myself and going, you have 2 choices here. You can keep spiraling down this hole, or you can pick something that you're going to focus on this next year that's going to pull you out of this pit. And so for some reason, I decided that I was going to train for a half marathon. And why that is funny is I was the band kid in high school, never played an organized sport in my life, never had run before it. But of course I just thought, I'm going to train for a half marathon.
Have you ever run before?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
I think the mile run back in 5th grade for the presidential, yeah.
Absolutely opened up the marathon option.
Yes, absolutely. So why not? I'm going to train for a half marathon. And just kind of set that as my goal and started training. Got a training plan in place. Along the way, actually blew out my Achilles, had to go, recover from that. In the interim, I trained for a triathlon because I couldn't run at that point. And I just started setting these crazy physical goals that kept me focused, kept me exercising, which was good for me and my stress. But also really pushed me to the limit mentally, physically, emotionally. And it was kind of in those spaces where I really found that the healing started to come. And I kind of came up with this mantra of pain is pain. And so if you're going to be in pain, you might as well get some kind of reward from it. In fact, I think Will Smith actually coined that phrase. And so that became my thing. And when I finished one thing, okay, what's my next thing that I'm going to do? And so it kind of led me, and so along the way I was blogging and I was sharing these stories with other women as well, and they were kind of following my journey. And my most recent one was I had gone through a difficult period about 2 years ago, and I decided I'm going to climb a mountain. Because again, why not,
Right.
And the challenge is when you're a mom with 4 kids, any kind of, great physical challenge has to come in between soccer and drop off at elementary school. And so I couldn't do Everest. So I had to find something that I could do that was within 4 hours that I could master. So I Googled and I found this thing called Devil's Path, which is 4 hours north in New York. And it was this intense 5 mountains that you go and climb. And so I started training for that. And then as life typically does, other things happened and I kind of put it on the back burner and kind of forgot about the goal for a while until my son came up to me and said, hey, what happened with that Devil's Path that you were going to do? You said you were going to do it. When are you doing it? And so it was kind of like that moment where he called me out, and I thought, well, I don't
accountability.
I don't want that to be the message to my kids. And so I fired back up the training and actually completed that about 2 months ago.
Which is remarkable because I think, when people are thinking about goal setting, they don't realize the timeline that goes into it. And all the while you're working, full-time jobs, you're the mom of 4 and also trying to create a business as well.
Right.
So you're spinning a lot of plates, but also creating these goals. And so with that intention, you still didn't let the excuses get the best of you.
Right.
So you've climbed this mountain, then what?
Well, it's interesting. So that mountain experience, truly for me, carrying this pack up this mountain, and it was, when I say mountain, it was like a cliff. Like literally it was just climbing straight up and down. And I had this moment on the mountain where it was like everything had been stripped away from me. Like all that you had to focus on up there was eating, breathing, sleeping, surviving the night, fire.
Wow.
Life became so simple. And I really feel like I found my true self on that mountain. Like I realized I was enough. I can survive this. I can survive anything. And so kind of came back down that mountain really re-inspired. And I'm a writer and I do retreats and motivational speaking. Right. And it really fired back up this passion for me to, I'm in the middle of writing a book right now. And my overall passion project that I have fired back up as well is a retreat healing center that I wish I had been given access to all the tools that I've had over the past decade sooner in my life before it got to this breaking point. And so this retreat healing space is really an opportunity for women to access all these different healing modalities, from yoga to physical challenges to meditation, mindfulness, art, writing, all those things in one collective space.
I think that's phenomenal because I think now more than ever, the connectivity piece during COVID is lacking. And I think as women specifically, we need that community, and you're offering that. Can you tell us a bit more about the space, or you say some of the things that are going on in the space? How did you create this vision?
It really came out of my own personal journey. So I went through a very, very challenging divorce and found myself in a situation where I needed to leave my house with my kids, and I had absolutely no place to go. And I remember in that space thinking to myself, once I get to the other side of this, I want to make sure that no other woman is put in this position. And so that really sparked what became a bigger vision, but I wanted to find a retreat space that I could have for women in any stage of broken, not just in a divorce situation, but that needed a respite, a space to just, get on their feet and figure out what the next step is. And so a piece of this place that I envision will have a designated area that a woman recovering from anything can have a day, a week, however long she needs to stay. So there's a very intentional, for-purpose, nonprofit piece to this as well.
I think that's a powerful thing to offer to Lancaster specifically and beyond. And so if our watchers are thinking that this is a great opportunity for you to connect with other women or to utilize a space where networking and community is possible, our banner is going to be playing across the bottom here, and also you can check out Jenn's information at, would you like to tell them where they can find it?
JenniferDiazRetreats.com.
Excellent. So that's going to be a location that you're going to want to get familiar with, and also you can follow Jenn on social media as well. Her blog, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, it's out on my website, and you can also follow me on Facebook, and really it just follows my crazy life.
Well, and that was one of the reasons that we wanted one of our happiness heroes to be Jenn, because her blog is taking the grassroots of women just like you and I and talking about the ins and outs of being a mother, such as the story she started off with, the journey of taking off the badge of motherhood and just being a woman, and then also talking about how as a community of women we can grow and support each other. Jenn, this has been an incredible interview, and if there was one last piece of advice you'd like to offer to our watchers, what would you say?
I think we have just had this incredibly challenging year, and I think for everybody that's in that dark place, just decide to take that one next step, whatever that goal is or something that you want to try this next year. Make the decision that you're going to do it and then take one step towards it.
And beyond that, you've also talked about a vision board as well. If you're not sure what that means, we might have to have Jenn back on, but check out her blog for more information and reach out to Jenn and ask her about a vision board. Thank you so much for joining us, Jenn.
Thank you.